Whooping cough cases are on the rise in the Mid-Ohio Valley. We'll tell you who's most at risk and how to protect your family. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Phyllis Smith. New tonight, whooping cough or pertussis in the Mid-Ohio Valley has increased in the last few months. That's according to Amy Phelps, the Public Information Officer at the Mid-Ohio Valley Health Department. Phelps says whooping cough has reached nearly 15 cases in the Mid-Ohio Valley and even more nationwide. Symptoms may include a runny nose, coughing, and sneezing. Phelps says children, the elderly, and people with compromised immune systems are at a higher risk of getting the infection. Simple steps like covering your coughs and sneezes, washing your hands, and wiping down commonly touched surfaces make a big difference.
The meaner cough later, but when it shows up early, it's usually runny nose, sneezing, coughing. Cover your coughs and sneezes. You want to wash your hands all the time, that kind of thing. And then if you're showing like the terrible cough, then you might want to talk to your healthcare provider.
Phelps emphasized that people who have symptoms should stay home.